Welcome to another episode of MarketSense. As usual, my name is Dr. Raji. In today's episode, we're going to be asking the question, does Nigeria have a cost of living crisis? Why is it that economic growth isn't reaching the people? Nigeria's economy appears to be improving. GDP growth has accelerated. Government revenues have increased. Foreign reserves have risen. The country has recorded trade and current account surpluses. International institutions such as the IMF and World Bank acknowledge that Nigeria's macroeconomic indicators have improved significantly since the reform of 2023. In 2021, Nigeria's economy grew by about 3.4%. By 2025 and 2026, growth had risen to around 4%, with the IMF projecting a 4.1% growth in 2026. But on paper, Nigeria seems to be moving forward. Yet, millions of Nigerians feel they are moving backwards. Food is more expensive, transport costs are higher, rent keeps rising, electricity bills have increased, the economy appears stronger, but households appear weaker. How can both be true? The answer lies in the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics. Macroeconomics focuses on the national economy, GDP growth, trade balances, government revenues, foreign reserve, fiscal deficit, while microeconomy focuses on people, families, workers, small businesses, the ability to afford food, housing, healthcare, and education. Nigeria's recent reforms have produced measurable gains at the macro level. However, these gains have not translated into equivalent improvements at the household level. According to the World Bank, approximately 63% of Nigerians were living below the national poverty line in 2025, up from 61% in 2024. About 7 million additional Nigerians fell into poverty in 2025 alone. This means that while the economy is growing, poverty is also growing. Economists call this a weak transition mechanism. The benefits of growth are not effectively reaching ordinary citizens. Since 2023, Nigeria has undertaken some of the most ambitious economic reforms in its history. 4 subsidies were removed, the naira was devalued, and exchange rates unified. Fiscal reforms were introduced. These policies were intended to restore macroeconomic stability. And in many ways, they succeeded. Government revenues improved. Foreign reserves increased to $50 billion. Investor confidence began returning. Public finances strengthened. But these same reforms also imposed high costs on households. Forced subsidy removal increased transportation costs. Naira depreciation increased the cost of imported goods and industrial inputs. Businesses passed this cost to consumers. The result was a surge in the cost of living. The reforms generated macroeconomic gains, but the adjustment costs were largely borne by ordinary Nigerians. Now, the critical question is this: were enough microeconomic reforms introduced alongside the macroeconomic reforms? Many economists argue the answer is no. While the government focused on stabilizing the economy, households received limited relief from rising living costs. Let's consider the reforms that could directly improve household welfare, e.g., affordable healthcare systems, pension reforms that improve retirement security, educational reforms that lower the financial burdens on families, financial sector reforms that increase access to credit for small businesses and entrepreneurs, agricultural reforms that reduce food prices, housing reforms that expand affordable housing. These are the type of policies that help families absorb economic shocks. Without them, the gain for macroeconomic reforms tend to accumulate among larger firms, financial institutions, and wealthier segments of society, while lower income households continue to struggle. Economic growth becomes exclusive rather than inclusive. The true measure of economic well-being is not how much people earn, it is what that money can buy. Economists call this purchasing power. Consider a worker earning 90,000 naira monthly in 2025. Today, that worker may be earning 180,000 naira. Yet food, transportation, school fees, and rent may have risen far faster. As a result, the worker feels poorer despite earning more. This is precisely what many Nigerian households are experiencing. The World Bank notes that high food prices continue to place enormous pressures on families, despite improvements in macroeconomic indicators. The cost of basic food baskets have increased dramatically over recent years. Growth is occurring, but real living standards are not improving at the same pace. Not all Nigerians' problems are homegrown. The ongoing tensions and conflict in the Middle East have contributed to higher global energy prices. Rising fuel prices affect transportation, manufacturing, agriculture, and logistics. Since fuel is a key input in almost every sector, increases in fuel prices eventually affect the cost of nearly every goods and service in the economy. Yet, external factors alone cannot explain Nigeria's cost of living crisis. The deeper challenge remains ensuring that economic reforms improve household welfare. Strong GDP is important. Trade surpluses are important. Fiscal stability is important. But citizens ultimately judge an economy by simpler standards. Can they afford food? Can they pay rent? Can they save for the future? Can they provide a better life for their children? Nigeria's challenge today is no longer simply growing the economy. The challenge is converting macroeconomic success into microeconomic prosperity. Until that happens, millions of Nigerians will continue to live through one of the greatest paradoxes of modern economics: a growing economy and a struggling people. For us at MarketSense, economic growth is meaningful only when it improves the lives of ordinary people. What do you think? We would like to see your opinions in the comment sections. Don't forget to click, share this content so that we can reach more people. And before I forget, say no to drugs, educate the mind, don't abuse it. See you next week.